struggle, it seems. Just wish that they would listen to me. This is as far as I'll go without an answer.
All right, I'm so excited to have you in here, Bryon. It's amazing to have you in here, Mr. Knight. That's too formal. Bryon Knight. It's awesome to have you on the show today. You know, an actual interview with a local talent, spotlight, an actual musician who's published and has music, and it's great. Bryon is a musician, a member of an amazing band called Manuscript, and he just released a new single called Sympathy, which can I say is awesome. Michael told me about it, and I listened to it, and it's nice. And just for everyone at home, it's available on Spotify, Apple Music, and Pandora. So give it a listen. It's only 4 minutes. Do it. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so awesome to have you on today, and I'm so excited to interview you.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Anyways, so first things first, I gotta address the elephant in the room. Manuscript. Man, that is a cool name. Rolls right off the tongue. Like, where did that come from? Like, how did you come up with the idea of Manuscript?
Okay, so in the beginning of this project, I needed something to use as a mechanism to cope with some of the darker points in my life growing up, and I wanted something as honest and personal as possible, and basically, like, a manuscript is any handwritten work as opposed to something being typed or printed.
That can be edited.
Right, but I don't feel like there is a more personal way to express things than like pen on paper. You know, so I thought manuscript was the best possible representation of that.
So your own emotional attachment to the song translated over into the idea of how you would come about them and create them, which you thought was an emotional connection. This is super wholesome. I like this already. It connected back to it. That's super cool. It's super interesting. That's actually really, really good, well thought out, man. Nice. Anyways, so next elephant in the room, your position in the band. May I say the only position?
So Manuscript isn't a band by the traditional sense of the word, I feel like. Like when I started, as I was saying, I needed something I wanted to tell a story, right, about how, like, about those darker points when I had friends and family members passing away, and I had problems with anxiety and depression, and I wanted to tell a story about
dealing with those things
and pushing past them. And also I wanted to thank my wife, because she's probably the most significant of those steps.
So wholesome.
Along the way to pull me up and make me.
That's a super cool way of
teach me to care about myself. So originally, Manuscript was supposed to be just myself and an acoustic guitar throughout everything. But once I started to lay the songs out, I realized that they were more than that, and that if I wanted to do them justice, that it would take more than that. At the time, I was in college for audio and classical guitar, and knew my way around in Pro Tools, like the audio editing software.
Yeah, you need a college class to understand that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I needed like 8 of them.
Jesus.
But knew how to overdub things and how to orchestrate band parts, and knew that to have a full band record, you didn't necessarily need a full band. Probably the closest thing that I have to a band member is a dude that I met in college, an incredible drummer named Michael Sutton, who saw my vision and value in what I was doing and wanted to be a part of it. He sends me drum recordings remotely that I mix into things. But other than him, and like a couple of feature parts, like solos and background vocals and things like that, occasionally, I'm doing everything. So it's all of the all the bass parts, most of the guitar parts, all of the vocals, and I write all the songs.
I don't know if I have enough arms for all this talent next to all this wholesome, like seriously. And your buddy just like sends you drum clips like all the way across the world, just like super casually. You like call him up, he's like, "Hey man, do you mind like doing something for me real quick on drums?" He's like, "I'm already there."
Basically, he is a godsend.
That is so cool.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you if you're seeing this. I would love to interview you too. Anyways, on to the next little thing. You know, Leah has a band. We're not the Happy Little Trees.
What?
Yeah, we've graduated from that to no AC.
Feeling that.
Yeah, honestly. Whew. You should see, like 2 weeks ago, it was so hot in here that we were taking breaks in between songs to fan ourselves off and chug bottles of water and then continue on. Like, I was drenched head to toe by the time I went home. It was
Anything for the
insane.
craft.
Anything. The show must go on. Anyways, so I play the guitar, you know that. I'm also mainly a lead singer, which you also know. And, you know, every band has its own starts, its own origins. Like me, I just wanted to do music, and then we started up the program here at Leah, and I decided to join up because they needed a singer, and because I liked Michael, and because I wanted to do something a little bit different and bring out my music more. But everybody's story is far, far different. So where did yours start? Did it start at like the actual audio engineering, or did it take off with music in the beginning?
It was certainly more to do with the start musically. I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old.
Jeez.
And I've always been super passionate about music in general, and knew that that was where I wanted to take my life. And this is just like one of those steps to me.
Honestly, I got my first guitar from our Leah group when we were still in the Belchase library after hours. We were a group of 17 people, I believe, or so, and they pulled their funds together to get me a guitar. And at the time, I had no clue why these people had done it, because I had no interest in playing an instrument at all. Like, I had just discovered I had the ability to sing and stuff, but now that I look back on it, that was what started it all. Literally, that's what started it all, was getting that guitar and like forcing myself to play with it and mess with it, and then getting sick of it and putting it aside. And then a few years later, when I was in a rut, I found it, I picked it back up, I started playing again. I realized, yeah, sure, let's go with this.
Well, I bet you did, and you got some pretty nice chops.
Well, thank you. I can scream a little bit. You know, small person, big lungs. Actually, my first real guitar, they wanted to try and give me one of these little tiny ones that are meant for like little tiny itty bitty kids, which is like a 1/5 scale guitar, and I didn't want to do that, so I got myself a fully sized guitar. At the time, the guitar was about 3.5 foot tall, and I was shorter than it. Anyways, moving on.
I remember those days.
Moving on. So, like I mentioned, you know, you have a new single out. It's called Sympathy. You know, Michael, our music teacher here, he actually mentioned that it's part of an album that you're going to be dropping very soon. Look at that. Look at it. There it is. That's like an original copy. I am terrified that I'm going to accidentally hit your hands and that's going to drop and break. So, do you mind giving us a little like insight on when that's going to drop?
Right. Sympathy was the third single to have released off of the album. The first were Tell Me Please and Closure before it. But the record itself comes out May 6th, anywhere that you can stream music. I'll also have physical copies for sale, but you'd have to get up with me about that.
Soon.
May 6th.
Also, is there any way that someone could procure one of these copies of the album a little bit ahead of time?
Potentially. We'll talk about it.
I'm in. Anyways, you know, I was actually listening to your song a little bit earlier and a little bit more of your music just so I could get a feel for your style and your taste. And honestly, I instantly recognized the rock in the guitar. It was like so awesome. But the other beats and things.
There's a rock in my guitar? I need to fix that.
I feel like, yeah, I would hope so. I thought you were keeping it in there for sound effect purposes. Jeez, man, you don't know about it? Anyways.
I'm not very observant.
Anyways, so I noticed that there was a little bit more of like a kind of an alternative kind of rock feel with like some incorporations of pop with like a kind of punky tune, honestly. And it was a very interesting, but I wanted to hear it from you first. What would you consider your style or like type of music to actually be?
Yeah, it's definitely all rock oriented stuff. I think that there's a pretty recognizable amount of indie influence along with like darker pop punk and emo.
Nice. Actually, that's actually pretty cool. I like it when people take new styles and try and spin them on their heads, you know? I can actually definitely see that now. Actually, absolutely. I'm thinking about it and like re-listening to certain bits in the song in my head. Absolutely can think about that. Anyway, so you've been playing music for a very long time. You said you picked up your first guitar when you were 8?
Yes.
I picked up my first guitar when I was 9. Yeah, just
loser.
Anyways, but you are a man of many talents, are you not? Do you not also play bass and piano? When did you like come along those? Was it like after your whole spur where you decided that you wanted to do more with your music?
No. Very early on, I started. Like I've been a multi-instrumentalist for a super long time. I played trombone in middle school, high school, and college band.
I'm a trumpet guy, but
right. My mom got me my first bass when I was probably 12 or 13.
Was that planned?
I begged for it for a super long time, and she caved. That's what happened. But I don't know. Guitar's always been my baby. I also play mandolin and ukulele.
Oh, cool. I can totally rock a mandolin and a ukulele, baby. Oh, I love those. A lot of the instruments that I play now were just ones that I got off of a whim. Like the only reason why I play keyboard now is because a close family friend was like, hey, we have this keyboard and it is close to your birthday. And I was like, what are you talking about, Uncle Nip? My birthday is in September. It's April. Anyways, here, have this keyboard. You know, it's one of those things where I've always had a connection with music based on the instruments that I've gotten. And a lot of the reason why I play so many instruments is because I got them and I got interested in them as soon as I got them.
Right.
Anyways, you know, being a musician has always been something that I've wanted to do and many other people want to do, and it's always a different experience for all kinds of different people. With me, I always had a connection with music with like fond memories in my family, and it was kind of like a time of when I discovered music as a talent for me and a thing that I loved. It was like a sense of stability and starting to build an identity for myself. It really helped me out of some hard times and some troubles where I didn't really have any direction, and I just went from there. But everybody's story is different. Everybody's story is different. So tell me the scoop, my man. Where did it come from?
Well, I think that's consistent with a lot of people. Music was the first and has been the most consistent thing that I've ever been passionate about in my life. From early on, it's dug me out of holes that I didn't know if I'd ever get out of. You know, music has opened doors for me and taught me about myself over the years, and I've just always known that it was what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be.
I feel like it was kind of like that for me. I just didn't realize it for the longest time until it was like, I like music. It wasn't exactly like that, but it was pretty close. Anyways, you know, well, we actually learned that you also do a lot of audio engineering. I personally saw your 17 monitor, like Matrix style hacker setup in the corner of your amazing little studio.
Right.
Your studio named
Asphodel Audio.
Such a cool name. Seriously, check them out, people.
Please.
Please do it. Anyway, so how did you actually get into audio engineering. I don't. From the people that I know who do it, it's never really a thing of like, I want to do audio engineering. It's more of a thing like, I want to edit my own music, but I don't know how.
Well,
That's what it was for me.
like I said, I've always known that I wanted to pursue music as a career. And going into college, like there are a few different ways that you can go about that.
Yeah.
And I knew that I didn't want to teach. And I also know how heavy of an undertaking it would be to try to make it like sustainably as a performing or like session musician. So going into college, I started trying to push myself into the audio world, and I fell in love. There's just something about the feeling of taking a general idea and turning it into like a polished piece of art, you know, that like people are actually
Yeah, you can sit
proud
back
of.
and reflect on and think about the good times
Yeah, like to take a piece of a person out of themselves,
and like put it on
put it in
paper.
a little ball,
Listen to somebody's emotions.
and then convert that ball to WAV or MP3.
Once again, super wholesome, honestly. You know, I didn't really have that kind of connection with it. In fact, I didn't really have any kind of technique or training in it. Michael was the one who convinced me to even start messing with that stuff. And although it's been a very hard undertaking and a lot of things have gotten in the way, I'm really starting to work with it and develop it, and I'm going to use that as like an extra little method of keeping myself sane during college.
Right.
Just making songs and listening to them over and over again until you're sick of them, and then when you're done with them, you fall in love with them again. So
It's a never-ending cycle.
you, unlike me, clearly have a good handle on the music industry and editing. Thank God one of us does. So what advice would you give to any young people out there who are wanting to pursue music as a career?
I would say that you should listen to your heart. I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough when I was young to have had like a strong support system in like a family that recognized the value that I put into music from a really young age, and that like never questioned it and never
Go, kid, go.
never tried to put me down because that's where all my own interests lied, and I just always wanted the best for me in that, right? But I'm an extremity in that sense. Most, I would say, people don't have that sort of support system in place, and I think that a lot of people who lack that give up early on
Get
because they
discouraged.
feel like they're never going to make it, right? But if you are passionate, truly passionate about anything, and you're willing to put the work in, you can do whatever you want to do. The work is probably the most important part of that, along with like creativity. But just don't give up and listen to yourself.
Oftentimes you'll find yourself loving that work, even enjoying it.
That's all I want to do.
Anyways, now this is not a question that I wanted to do because I, as a musician, know how hard it is to pick between your children, but what is your favorite genre of music? Oh, the humanity! Asking a musician their favorite genre of music! How can I choose between my kids?
Growing up, my favorite kind of music was always like 60s and 70s folk music, like Simon and Garfunkel and Crosby, Stills and Nash, things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
But in recent years, I've really fallen in love with punk and emo stuff, like darker pop punk and emo, like Bayside and Alkaline Trio and Bad Religion, Thursday, bands like that.
Me, I was
Really
always
spoken to me.
classic rock and roll kind of guy because my dad, that was all he listened to. Even now, that's all I listen to. And
Yeah, they call it dad rock for a reason.
they call it dad rock for a reason. Literally not even joking. That's the only station he knows the number to. You got 101.1 and 95.7, which is just all type rock and roll New Orleans. Anyways, I felt like rock and country have always been related to me, which is kind of where I've fallen kind of in between, because I've just always related to those. In fact, one of my earliest memories of actual like music was my papa, my grandfather. He had all of these vinyl records of like Johnny Cash and Clint Eastwood and all these different like country singers, and he would put them on his old record player or just start humming them randomly and tell me stories about him listening to these songs with his buddies or talking about his other siblings and things. And that was really one of my earliest connections with music, was with my grandfather.
You know, I did not know that Clint Eastwood like made music.
Different one.
A different one? Not like a...
It's hard to explain.
Like the actor and the...
No, not the actor. Completely unrelated. He went by Clint. I don't even know how to explain it. This is like something that I still even question to this day. It was like... I'll tell you afterwards. Don't worry. It's a very long story. I hope my memory serves, because I sure don't remember how my papa explained it. Anyways, moving on. We have one final question for you. And it's a question that we ask all of our people here every single time we have a new guest on the show. And it's a little bit of a surprise. It's one that I would like a lot. And if you can go back in time to the age of 16 and give yourself one piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say to stop worrying so much. Like, I started my first full-time job at 15, and I kept that job until I was 23.
Jeez.
And like almost out of college. At the same time, I was kicking it in school, like a bunch of college classes and marching band and a number of other things, trying to like support myself and like set up a future for myself and like support those around me. You know? But and it's not like it's not like I would want to not have worked that hard, because that's like one of my favorite aspects of myself is like I've always had that work ethic. But I do feel like I spent so much time like hyper focused like that I gave up the opportunity to be happy in that period of time, because I was like so stressed.
So much on the future and so much on succeeding and getting through things that you put
like
all the things you enjoyed aside.
Right, kind of gave away part of my childhood.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, especially recently with the pandemic. So many people just not being able to go out and do the things they enjoy because of the whole quarantine situation and things. And that's something that I think everybody can relate to at times, just putting things aside for the sake of getting them done over your own happiness.
Yeah, Hakuna Matata.
What a wonderful phrase. Anyways, just ending off on a wholesome note, it's been an absolute pleasure interviewing you, and I would like to thank you profusely for coming on the show. It's awesome to have you on. Also, I am terrified that I'm going to touch that album and it's going to break immediately.
Exploiting the Glitch. Out May 6th.
It's so cool, man. Look at the art on it, too. Did you do the art?
I did the art.
He did the art!
My boss at the other studio I work in, DPL Unlimited, he took the pictures and then I edited them.
Just so much talent. I can't hold it all. Just so much talent. Anyways, it's been a pleasure for you to come on the show. I hope that you will come back one of these days. I would love to talk with you.
One of these days is track 6.
Hey! That's a great number.
Hi everyone, Megan here with another Toby's Friends. Today we have Indy, who's such a pretty girl. She was found in the middle of the woods with her babies and brought to a shelter. Then Take Paws Rescue took her in and put her pups in a wonderful foster home where she was showed love and attention. Her babies have been adopted, and now it's Indy's turn. She's believed to be a German Shepherd and Husky mix, but apparently has the goofy personality of a Husky. She is about 3 years old and is housebroken, crate trained, and knows a few commands. She does well with kids and larger dogs, but would do best in a house with no small animals, such as small dogs and cats. Still, this girl is super sweet and would make a wonderful addition to her family. If you're interested in adopting Indy, check her out at takepauserescue.org. That's it for today's Toby's Friends.
As many of you know, Liaya is holding a fundraiser so that we can officially buy the building.
So Liaya may finally have a forever home.
Yes, exactly. Liaya has been through so much and has moved so many times. And so it's very important that we finally find a place to call home so we can continue to inspire youth with art.
As the name of our fundraiser states, home is where the art is.
Yes, and we can only do this with the help of our community and amazing donors. And so today, we would like to show off what we have done in order to thank the donors who have helped us out so far. Thanks to these people, we are doing very well with our fundraising efforts.
Yes, and we would like to just, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all of your amazing donations. It is thanks to you that we are able to continue our mission to have a welcoming place for local young artists.
How about we go to Megan's and show off our donor wall?
Absolutely.
Like Lily and Jackson said, we would like to thank those who have already donated to our building fundraiser. You're donating to a wonderful cause, and this is how we like to thank you. This is our donor wall. As you can see, we have a bunch of paint spatters, paint tubes, and a paintbrush with names. Each of them means a different thing. The paint splatters say thank you to the donors who donated up to $100. The paint tubes are thank you to the donors who have donated up to $500. And the paintbrush is to the thank you to the donor who donated up to $1,000. No matter the amount, we're so thankful for your contribution. We are decorating our studio with your names. We also plan on having a gold and silver stars for the donors so theater and film can be represented, as well as light bulbs and pencils to represent creative writing and music notes and guitars. This is just for our fun way to say thanks to all those donors out there, as well as a splash of bit and color around our studio. We plan to expand this wall as the list of donors keeps growing throughout the year of fundraising. If you would like to donate, the link to our fundraiser will be in the description below, and we also encourage you to share the link. Any way you can help is appreciated.
Our donor wall is great. It's so colorful, and I think the idea is actually awesome. I hope our donors know just how much we appreciate them.
I hope they know too. We can't possibly thank them enough. To finally have this building and a permanent place for Liaya, it would just be a dream come true.
It really would. We would also like to thank Bryon Knight for coming in for an interview today. I really enjoyed talking with you, and we loved having you. It was great learning more about the music industry and your music and your experiences. We'll have a link to his music in the description as well, so if you want to check it out, please do. It is also available on several platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, and Pandora. You should absolutely check it out.
Well, it looks like I'm going to have to go check it out because you didn't let me earlier.
As long as you do it on your own time and not on my stuff. Well, that eye roll aside, that is it for this episode of The Buzz. I'm Jackson.
And I'm Lorelai. We'll be sure to catch you around the hive.
Bye.
Watch out, boy, you don't know what you're saying.